Back at it on the Hangout here. We break down the UConn men's national championship. When the breakdown starts, it ends with Shabazz Napier. 125 points, 25 rebounds, and 25 assists, joining Larry Bird and Derrick Rose as the only players to do that in March's Tournament of Madness. Trix, I'm going to start with you this block. Let's get right into it because I know you're going to have something interesting to say because you already alluded to it in the break. Did Shabazz Napier put himself in the first round of the NBA draft with that most historic performance, tearing through the tournament? Give it to him.
I'm going to say no. And
you don't think an NBA franchise would gamble to get themselves a point guard of that caliber?
It depends who the franchise is. It depends who needs a guard. Like
Everybody
I still think the Wiggins and the Parkers and a couple of the big men.
He's not going to challenge their.
They all go up, but I don't know if one tournament improves it that significant.
This is the tournament.
It is the tournament, but I don't know. I'm not going to say if it's first round, it's late first round.
Okay, Dan Sweets.
Well, let's put it this way. Coming into the tournament, he was not a first-round pick. He's a senior. He's 6'1". But this morning on NBADraft.net, they have him going number 24 to Charlotte, which would be interesting because that would put him with Kemba Walker, which is the best comparison for him going into the league. Is he a lottery pick? Absolutely not. Is he a gamer, a guy who can play and a guy who could step into the league? Maybe not as a starter for 10 years, but certainly as an impact player. I mean, at worst, Jameer Nelson, and maybe at best, Kemba Walker. I think he elevated his stock.
I agree. I didn't think Kemba Walker was going to turn into the pro that he was, so I think there's hope for Shabazz Napier. But you want a guy like that who's going to put your team on your back and win. So I definitely think he's a first rounder.
And a high caliber and high character guy when you think about the fact that he stuck through the suspension of the program.
And looking at senior players, like Damian Lillard played 4 years, and I'm not saying he's going to be Damian Lillard, but you can't discredit. Exactly. We saw that in the tournament.
Yes, and okay, so let's get back to the national championship. You had the 4-year player Shabazz, and then you had the Kentucky Wildcats, a team that for all intents and purposes, I thought they would blow UConn out the water just with the amount of talent they had.
Except for the free throw line.
Except at the free throw line. But so the game was kind of anticlimactic, judging by what we've had to work with in this NCAA tournament, Dan. It was one of the best tournaments I've seen.
The tournament was amazing, and Kentucky was involved in some of the great games in the history. The history. It's going to go. That Wichita State game was mind-boggling for its drama and suspense. The Louisville game was great. The Michigan game was great. Yeah, the championship game did not have. It wasn't Butler against Duke from a couple of years ago. But whatever, the tournament itself was spectacular. And I don't think the fact that game wasn't as dramatic as some other, I don't think that takes away from anything, but UConn shocked us all. They shocked the world.
Let me get you on this one, though. Adam Silver, we just talked about the seasoning of Shabazz Napier and how time made him a better player. Adam Silver is appreciative of that same concept. Of course, the NBA has the 19-year-old age limit to enter the league. He's currently contemplating boosting another year to 20 years. And of course, a lot of the pushback comes from the kids who say that the NCAA doesn't provide enough for them to survive. When you look at it, the NCAA gives you a certain set amount of money, but there's a difference, there's a discrepancy between what you need on a day-to-day basis to survive as a student athlete and what's given by the NCAA. So the topic that's come out now is new commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, is proposing subsidizing collegiate athletes. This is a slippery slope that the NBA is thinking of going down. Are you a fan of subsidies for collegiate athletes?
I'm a fan of rewarding college athletes for all the money they make for the schools because they're not getting compensated. They're struggling. And if I'm a kid who's got to be a struggling student, I don't have time to have a part-time job because I'm practicing, training, going to school, whatever. I could do that again another season or go to the NBA and make money. If the NBA is going to come, if there's going to be some kind of discussion where players can get some type of, it's never a tough answer with what it's going to be, but if they're going to help offset some of the costs or make it worth my while, so to speak, for all the money I'm doing for schools, I'm all for it.
Adam Silver used the example of Shabazz Napier, who a couple years ago said, man, regarding the suspensions at UConn, a couple of players were doing things that were wrong because they didn't have enough money to eat. Now, that's a huge concern. We're putting you on national TV. We're selling your jersey. You don't have enough money to eat. But how do you go about identifying the players that you do subsidize, Dan? Like, is this even possible?
Well, you'd have to do it universally, and you'd have to have certain teams and certain, a Division I, Division II structure. The problem with it is that the basketball players and the football players, which are the money makers in college sports, they're not the only student athletes. You have lacrosse players,
it's kind
soccer
of okay
players.
Because if the professional leagues come in to make that call, it's not like the NCAA is arbitrarily deciding. Like the lacrosse league should step up and help offset costs for college students.
I don't know,
whatever.
Maybe, but I don't know if the NCAA is going to just take what the professional leagues want or tell them to do. They're the ones who control
I'm not feeling one. I like the one and done, simply because they don't get anything. I mean, you're
saying don't even bother subsidizing, don't even bother.
But those are only the best.
I think you leave it one and done, just because. I mean, if I'm a student, right? We were talking about this, earlier. Like if I'm a student and I have a scholarship for $50,000, but I only my tuition is $50,000, and I'm only getting $45,000. How do you make up the other $5,000? Like how? If you can't work,
selling your jersey,
you can't do anything. Meanwhile, you're providing so much. The money, I was in the States during March Madness, and the money they make during that entire process is mind-boggling, and the students see none of that.
Okay, hold on, wait.
So it's like,
I got another money-making topic for you coming out of this March Madness, of course. Coach Cal did not win a national championship. Calipari has a rough relationship right now with some of the boosters over at Kentucky. Rex Chapman threw him under the bus just prior to tip-off of the national championship game, saying it's a done deal that Coach Cal goes to Los Angeles to coach the Lakers. Kind of weird because Mike D'Antoni's still there. Mike D'Antoni's having a rough go right now.
he is? He's still there?
But let's get back to the business at hand. Does Coach Cal make the jump to the NBA?
Somebody needs to make a jump for the Lakers. Please. Somebody needs to go coach the Lakers.
Dan, do you think he'll do it?
Yes, if he's given that opportunity, there's no way he could turn it down. The timing is right. What more is he supposed to accomplish at Kentucky? He's won a championship. Every player that comes in there, he guides them right into the NBA. Go to the Lakers, take that gig.
Yeah, but he takes that gig. Look at D'Antoni. How long has he had the gig for? 2 seasons?
The Lakers have been volatile.
You don't deliver in 2 years, you're out of there. It doesn't matter what you've done, your success or accolade.
He's going to take.
He's
He's
getting comparable money right now in Kentucky.
No.
And there's no pressure.
You're
He'll
saying
get
that
$10
because the NBA. He should stay in Kentucky.
Stay
in the NCAA.
Here's how I see the whole argument playing out. The Lakers may end up having a top 3 to 5 pick that could end up being a Julius Randle type player who he coached. Calipari is a proud man, and he tried the NBA thing before, and it did not work out in New Jersey. And I think maybe he wants to prove the doubters wrong because he did it in Kentucky, and he did it really well.
Pete Carroll did it in the NFL.
Pete Carroll did it in the NFL. You see Brad Stevens making the jump.
Don't do it for pride, though. Don't do it for pride. Don't go there because you want to prove to yourself.
What else? He doesn't need the money.
Do it because it
He
needs to be done.
doesn't need the money.
Hey, man, Lisa Leslie needs to go.
The Lakers
right,
need
listen.
him, and he needs the Lakers.
Okay, we got more.
Lakers need anybody.
Hey.
Lisa Leslie, go coach the Lakers.
Stop bad talking to Lakers. There is more to break down on the Hangout. When we return, we got to acknowledge this year's Hall of Fame class. Shouts out to Zoe. Alonzo Mourning. If you don't know now, you know Alonzo Mourning and Mitch Richmond will be joining the Hall of Fame. And we'll break that down after the break on the Hangout.